Welcome to Kaizen Time, part of the Blood, Sweat, and Business podcast, where we provide constant improvement to businesses through timely, actionable financial solutions. Do you want answers to your financial questions? Email us at bsp@kaizencpas.com. I'm your host, Mark Valesky. Now let's get started. Welcome to another episode of Kaizen Time. I'm joined by Eric Jorn, a partner here at the firm. Eric, how you doing?
Excellent, Mark. How are you doing today?
Doing pretty well. I mean, it is pretty chilly, but what do we expect for this time of year?
Yeah, I can't believe it's in the negatives right now, and it was tough getting out in the truck this morning.
Well, speaking of negatives, what's one way to kind of get out of the negative? Specifically, we're looking at our margins for like an auto shop.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a great topic. So, shop owners, probably a big overlooked opportunity to increase profits and margins generally for their shop is preventing parts from walking out the back door of the shop.
You're not talking about theft, are you?
Theft's probably a very small portion of that. Maybe we'll call it unintentional theft.
Are they robbing themselves?
In a way. So, one of the biggest things that we see with shop owners where they leave tangible dollars on the table is lack of charging for parts that were actually put on a car.
Really? Give me an example.
Yeah. So, maybe we're doing say we're doing a water pump, right? Hey, it's the middle of winter. It's cold. Maybe that's one of the things that dies out right now. We got a water pump that seizes, and hey, we get the shipment in of all the parts that we need for it. So we got the pump, we got the coolant, we got whatever else goes into it, and maybe some new radiator hoses or whatnot, supply return hoses. And maybe we forget to put those supply hoses on the repair order, right? We're writing up the repair order. We ordered everything. And hey, we just overlooked that, those hoses. So, and maybe they're $50 in parts. And if we go through our parts pricing matrix, right, we might be charging, if they cost us let's just say they cost $20. We might be charging $100 for that set of hoses with a 5X or a 5X markup on it. I think that's probably a little aggressive, but let's just for purposes. So if we forget to put those on there, not only do we lose that $100 of revenue, but those parts then also cost us $20. So we're $20 in the red just by forgetting to put that one part on that repair order.
So let me get this straight. You're making a repair on this hose.
Yep.
And basically what you're saying is people are forgetting to put all the other parts that are involved with it.
Yep. Yeah. And that's probably less of a likely example. It's just a kind of easier to digest one. What we'll probably see more often is that, hey, we forgot some things in the original order. We're in the middle of the repair, and we need to get a couple more little things, maybe a gasket, whatever, some bolts, things like that. And somehow those just don't make it to the repair order. Or maybe we just don't have the right controls in place where, there's just little miscellaneous things that we just don't ever put on a repair order. Maybe it's drain plug gaskets, push pin clips, things like that.
Or even just simple things like, hey, we're refilling your windshield wiper fluid.
Sure.
Whether it's, obviously that's not an expensive item.
Yeah.
Right? But, just saying like, oh, we go through this once every week, just topping off clients, right? Somehow tying that in there.
Yeah, exactly. Now you have other things that could happen, right? Is, maybe you get oil by the drum. And if you're not taking that drum of oil and breaking it down into quarts and then inventorying those quarts and then tracking to make sure, hey, we're doing an oil change. This vehicle takes 6 quarts, 7 quarts, 8 quarts, whatever it may be. If we're not tracking that, right? It's really easy for an employee to go to the drum and fill up a canister of oil and start doing oil changes out on the side.
Okay. So I guess the real question is, what's the solution, right?
Yeah.
It's got to be some type of tracking in the CRM, I'm guessing.
Yeah, there's a multitude of solutions, right? And a lot of it depends on how much time, energy, effort, and resources you have available to deal with this. So we'll start with the most simple solution, and we handle this largely through our accounting process. Is what we're doing is, and what most accountants will do is I write a check to my parts vendor or hits my bank account, swipes a credit card. That's just going to go right into parts cost.
Okay.
Right. Cash basis. What we're actually doing is we're taking your shop management system, what was tagged on repair orders, and we're using that as your parts cost, and everything else gets categorized into inventory. So all my purchases first start as inventory, and then when I close a repair order, I bring over my sales and I bring over my costs based on what was tagged on that repair order.
So there's a question for you. Not every make and model of the car uses the same filter, hose, or whatever. So are you essentially saying, hey, because it's this vehicle, we know we use this hose?
Correct. Yep. And that's done at the front end inside the shop management system. We're not necessarily doing that on the back end in the accounting process. But with that process, then we ask for an inventory count, right? If you're doing either a check in your shop management system or you're doing a shelf count, then we have an adjustment that we make based on that. And then that tells us, okay, if my purchases don't equal what's logged in my shop management system and I adjust it to my actual physical count of what's in work in process, meaning I got an open ticket, I paid for the part, we just haven't closed out the RO, or it's sitting on my shelf. It's just stock inventory. If there's a delta between those two, that's parts that didn't get tagged on repair orders, right? And that's leakage of profit from your shop, right? If that, not only do you have a cost of that part, but you lose the markup and margin that you get on selling that part and tagging it on the repair order.
Okay. So we're saying this is all pretty much on the CRMs.
The CRM is doing a lot of the heavy lifting with this.
Okay. Is this something that each shop has to do by themselves, or do some of them already have something built into it?
Yeah, most shops should have some level of inventory tracking and parts tracking built in their shop management system where, hey, I order parts. Some of them have parts ordering integration where I order the parts, it directly inventories them. I write a repair order, parts slide over into that repair order, moves out of their inventory. We see a lot of issues with managing inventory because it's, again, right, a shop, maybe a small shop doesn't have the resources for somebody to manage that much data flow because it is a relatively high volume of transactions that you have to manage. So that's one solution is, hey, the accounting process can actually pick up those opportunities.
Okay.
Second one, if you have a bookkeeper on staff, a lot of shop owners either have an office manager, bookkeeper. You can do audits of, hey, here's all my parts purchases. Here's my statement, all the parts that I've bought. And I'm going to go and run a parts usage report out of my shop management system where it tells me here's all the parts that were consumed on repair orders. And I'm going to cross-reference all those part numbers to make sure that what I bought was actually consumed and tagged on repair orders. A little bit more manual, arduous of a process, but it's a really good, it's a exercise where your internal office manager or bookkeeper can get you some direct ROI.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about this leakage issue. So in your experience, how big can this number be? Because they're probably running this every year then, right? Because I'm sure they do inventory once a year.
Yeah. I mean, we like to see inventory done monthly. Reality is what we see is a physical count's done once a year. Upside is shops don't really carry a lot of inventory on the shelf. So really that should be less of an issue. But we're seeing sometimes issues ranging anywhere from, maybe $5,000 to $10,000 a year. We've seen them as high as $50,000 or $60,000 a year.
That is a massive number.
It can be very material. I mean, think about, right? So that's just cost. 50 or 60,000 is just cost. Just do a 1x markup on that $50,000 or $60,000. That's $100,000 to $120,000 of dollars walking out your back door that could be in your bottom line. Does that not change the trajectory of a shop?
It could make a big change.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we have one solution, right? An accounting process, and that's a reactive process. Most of these are probably going to be reactive, obviously putting processes and procedures in place just to make sure that, hey, within my parts ordering system, delivery system, we're adding out 100% of parts that are ordered that get into our shop that we make a payment for into our shop management system. And we're keeping that inventory number clean, right? That's the proactive approach to it. Everything else is reactive. So second item would be, or we talked about using the office manager and or bookkeeper to manually check this. Third option is a relatively newer software out there. We've heard it works well for some. Some are still trying to figure out how to manage it, how to do it. And they do a really good job of qualifying their customers. There's a product out there called Wicked File that actually talks with your shop management system. And then also you add in your actual individual parts purchases. And it is making sure that, hey, those are, parts purchases are ending up on ROs. If there's a core charge, so batteries, alternators, things like that have a core charge where when you return the core of that part, you get credit back for it because they go send those out and remanufacture them. Mm-hmm. And then they track those, and they also track returns to make sure, hey, I'm actually getting reimbursed or credited against future purchases for those returns. And it's just using software to mix and match all those different input items.
Well, because to do it manually sounds like could be a huge time sink and potentially not viable then.
Correct. And so that software is it's a good investment if you think you have an issue, but I don't have that level of resource. So I have an in-house person who's doing my AP and purchasing that can own the responsibility of checking that. Again, the cheapest way to do this, really tight front end process, right? Part comes in, it's getting into my shop management system. We're not being lazy and small parts. We're not, we're just, don't worry about it. It's 30 cents. It's 50 cents. It's $1. It's a light bulb, 194 bulb, whatever it might be like that. That if you're not doing that consistently, then you're kind of taking the lazy way out of it. And those are really two big opportunities where you have to add some controls and catch a lot of this up front. And those controls, again, those are not incremental costs. We're not going out buying software. We're not using up a big portion of somebody's time to go and do this. And it's proactive versus reactive, right? And we like to live in a world of proactivity versus, waiting to find the problem and then fixing it.
So Eric, what would you say that one thing that these auto shops should be doing to fix this profit leakage?
To fix this profit leakage, the one thing I would urge every shop owner to do is look at your front end process into how do I intake parts in? How does that move to my shop management system? And how clean is my inventory count, right? Let's start with that. Let's just start with the most simple thing. Is my inventory count in my shop management system clean? And if it's not, hey, it's time to start working on that process.
Excellent. Anything else you want to talk about, Eric?
I think that's it for today.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Kaizen Time, part of the Blood, Sweat, and Business podcast. If you like what you heard, subscribe and leave a 5-star review. This podcast has been brought to you by Kaizen CPAs Plus Advisors, providing advisory and accounting services to help you grow your business. Learn more at kaizencpas.com or email us at bsb@kaizencpas.com.